All right, we got another controversy, this one in the world of track and field, where you have a transgender athlete absolutely blowing away the competition by over 5 seconds in this viral video. But the reason I'm talking about it is because you're getting from both sides all those same people who jumped on that Leah Thomas story, if you remember that transgender swimmer, and you're not getting any of the context. And this hits close to home for me because I ran track and field in high school. I primarily pole vaulted. I also did the 400, 800, some other events. And so I can give you a little bit more context about what actually happened here and why it's such a big deal. The story comes out of Oregon at the Sherwood Need for Speed Invitational, and it's a pretty big meet. You had over 20 schools here, and the athlete in question is Aayden Gallagher. Now, in this viral video, this is actually just one of the heats. This was not the final, and this time ended up giving Aayden a second place overall finish in the girls' 200 meter. And then he also competed in the girls 400, where he also got second place. And like I was saying before, the reason this is a big deal is because if you look at the boys, for example, his time in the 200 of 25:49 would have finished 61st. If you look at the 400, he ran a 55:61, which would have been 46th. And again, he finished second place in both of those events among the girls. And so you have to think, okay, first of all, whose spot did he take at his own school to compete at this meet, a pretty big meet by all looks of it? And then who is he keeping off the podium? Who's missing out on the opportunities from competing in this meet and placing well just because you have a boy identifying as a girl who has a distinct biological advantage? And now I know what you're going to say. He's transitioning. It's not apples to apples. He should be able to compete. Well, the argument I would make is that traditionally, if you look at the top female times in the whole world, their times correlate to about the top high school male varsity athletes' times. And so I'll use the 200 as an example. The world record was set in the 80s by Flo-Jo, an amazing sprinter. This is over 35 years ago. She ran a 21:34.
It's a good start. Florence Griffith-Joyner already closing the stagger on Grace Jackson. That is her first goal. And here she comes. She'll pick it up as she turns down the straight. She's going after another record. Quinn Torrance is running fairly well outside, but this race belongs to Florence Griffith-Joyner. 21:33.
And then the second fastest woman in the world is currently competing, an absolute beast. You're looking at Sherika Jackson, 21:41.
Women's 200 final away. Sherika Jackson, Sha'Carri Richardson on the outside has already been passed. Here comes the world champion Jackson. Sherika Jackson into the home straight. She has put her stamp on this event. She's going to go back-to-back for Jamaica, the first since Marlene Ottey, and she crosses in 21:41.
And now, those are all-time women's 200-meter records, just seemingly untouchable records, all right? And if you just look at this random meet in Oregon this year, 0.2 of a second was the difference between the women's world record and the winner of the boys varsity 200-meter race. So that's what you're looking at as far as a biological difference between men and women. And so I just have to ask, is this really fair for all of the girls that are putting in the hard work? I mean, I've been a track and field athlete. I understand how hard they need to work to reach this level of success in this sport. And what opportunities are they missing because of this? And honestly, it is not going to change unless you start seeing parents of these girls and the girls themselves refusing to compete. It shouldn't come down to that, but it looks like that's where we're headed. So that's where I stand on this issue. I think it's totally unfair for these girls that are just trying to compete, trying to have fun, trying to better themselves. And then you have a boy coming over who clearly cannot compete with his peers taking podium finishes. And it's not going to stop until you have people stand up to it. I hope this video adds some context because, like I said, this one hits pretty close to home for me. Let me know what you think in the comments, and hopefully we can start seeing some changes on this front.